And I said, no. I said, if you're going to do it, go ahead. And I put my hands behind my back just like this. And I said, if you want to fuck me up, go for it. You have the right, I guess.
So as I'm sure many of you know by now, June the King released a 4-hour documentary, and DSP is going to be reacting nightly to the entire thing. A lot of you have been asking what I'm going to do to cover the documentary or cover DSP covering the documentary. The answer is this: I'm going to do videos where I cut up his reaction and I talk about the points that I want to talk about. So please come along with me and take a look at some of my favorite parts from this incredibly awful react that he insists on doing.
That's not all. There are several search engines designed to search his over 70,000 videos that even have options to show the trend of word usage. And of course, a forum with over 280,000 posts discussing him. Now,
just to start, I had no idea that those search engines existed. That's pretty insane, huh? So you can search all of my video content for 16 years and look for words that I've said? Who the hell has had that created, right? Like, huh? We are 1 minute, 18 seconds into the documentary, and already something has happened that I had absolutely no clue about whatsoever, and I'm like Godsmack. They made a fucking search engine to search every word I've ever said in any video. To what end would you do that? Anyway.
I'm so happy that Pigpiggo was not only new information to Phil, but also that he was made aware of it so early on in this documentary. Because Pigpiggo is one of my favorite aspects of the DSP vortex. It's so cool to me that somebody went out of their way to create it and allow it to be used as a tool by so many in the community. Its existence at all also points to one of the biggest issues that people have with DSP in the first place, and that's his constant flip-flopping and lies. Pigpiggo and any other search engine involved with DSP was created, I don't want to say out of necessity, but as a necessity, because without it, it would be impossible to keep track of all of the lies DSP tells, big and small. And despite all of the dented things his chat had to say about it, don't look now, they've scrolled by, there shouldn't be anything inherently wrong with making it easier for people to rummage through a catalog of content as big as DSP's. Unless, of course, he has something to hide. Because had it not been called Pigpiggo, had it been developed by some denthead with the exact same functions as the site now, it wouldn't have been lambasted in his chat and scoffed at by the man himself. In fact, it probably would have been met with open arms.
The elitist nature and other unfavorable qualities that Phil was showing were more acceptable in these communities than they would be in others. And he did have that one thing that made him memorable: his aggression. Quote, I see it every day in my town. These little fucking wimps who call themselves quote-unquote thugs and pretend they're quote-unquote tough mofos. Well, if I ever get into a fight with one of them, hand to hand, I guarantee you I'll be the one standing afterwards.
It's so dumb. It's 100% e-thuggery, as they call it. Back then, all right, my life was pretty boring because I think he'll talk about it, that in school, I was basically pushed to be the best I could be by my parents. So essentially, I was like constantly studying, doing schoolwork and shit. My escape was to go online and to become this crazy e-thug persona, almost like the heel of wrestling, right? I'm the big man. I'm the tough guy. So I'm going to go on the forums and I'm going to go on fucking chat rooms, like IRC chat rooms for fighting games. And I'm just going to talk monstrous shit to everyone as much as I possibly can to piss people off. And it worked. Man, people bit into this persona hook, line, and sinker. I'm curious how far he goes into it, because obviously I'd like to tell you what actually would happen when I went to a tournament and stuff, but let's see.
And if they pull a gun on me, I hope they have pretty good aim, because if they don't hit me with the first shot, I'll have already punctured the windpipe and ended their life.
Because as you know, I had much practice with this. I wonder how old I was when I posted that. I was like 17 years old. I was just walking down the streets of Bridgeport, Connecticut, just shanking people's necks left and right like this. I was so fast they couldn't even see me move. They actually called me the Flash because I was just zoop, 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 zoop. I was an idiot. This is so stupid. I was a complete asshole online.
Unquote.
It's cool that you have a sense of humor about it, I guess, but it doesn't seem like you're cringing enough. It doesn't seem like you regret these dumb mistakes as much as you always pretend that you do. I get it. Everybody posted dumb things when they were kids. I'm no exception to that, of course. But what I'm not going to do is laugh, mock, and revel in the dumb things that I posted back then. DSP was an obnoxious, fake poser as a kid. He had no hardships and got online and pretended to be hard. It's no wonder he was bullied and ostracized everywhere that he went. He made himself so unlikable by every rational human, ostracization was the only option. Flash forward to today and there is no embarrassment, there is no humility. In fact, he's laughing and reveling in the fact he was so obnoxious. And it's exactly these types of behaviors that make people think that he hasn't changed, that he is in fact the same guy that he was yesterday, despite all of his nonsense claims to the contrary.
Ivy League colleges were in his purview, but he wasn't in theirs.
Yale rejected me, Harvard rejected me, there were 3 of them. I can't even remember what the 3rd one was, but every Ivy League school that I applied to said, no, when you want to know why they rejected me, it's this simple, because I'm a white male.
Where there is Phil Burnell, there are bound to be inconsistencies.
Whoa, he ended the quote. He didn't finish the quote. I'm going to see if he finishes the quote. If he doesn't finish the quote, that's kind of messed up, because that's not what I said. At all.
And lies. Here he states that it was because he was not racially diverse enough as a reason for not getting in, then later flips the excuse.
Just off of that premise, it wasn't my extracurriculars, it wasn't my academics, it was based off the fact that I wasn't a rich white person. Okay, now he said it. I'm not a rich white person. I needed the assistance, the financial assistance, okay? If I was offering to just pay them the entire tuition, maybe I would have had a better chance, but I was a valedictorian who had tons of extracurriculars, all the qualifications you would think you get into Ivy League college. My advisor at my high school told me, yeah, you're exceeding everything. You absolutely have a great chance of getting into an Ivy League. My problem was I couldn't afford it. So I had to apply for financial aid, and the moment that you do that, there you go. Just so you guys know, I don't know if he continues with the story, there were kids from my high school who were not valedictorian, who weren't even in the same level of classes as me, that got into Ivy League schools. They were athletes. So I bust my ass in high school to try to basically prepare for my future. I worked my ass off to get a good future. And then I'm told, sorry, you're white and you're not rich. We don't want you. You know, maybe if you qualify for one of these other check boxes that we're looking for, we would have had you here. But we're not looking for people who are smart. We're looking for all the check boxes. That's literally what happened. I even said, I went to my advisor after I got turned down, and the advisor told me that. I said, don't feel bad, because this happens all the time. This is not you. You worked your ass off. You're the top person at this school. There's nothing you can do about it. Go enjoy life and don't feel like you failed because you didn't. So there you go.
So it wasn't explicitly his race then. If other people from his school got in because they were athletes, then it wasn't because he wasn't rich and white. Maybe it was because he wasn't rich and athletic. Maybe it's because he didn't check a lot of different boxes that they were looking for. He even said that himself just a second ago. If that's the case though, why did he zero in on not being rich and white? And why on 2 separate occasions did he outright mention race when there were also confirmed to be a myriad of factors at play? I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that race doesn't play a part. It does. That's factually accurate. But why hone in on it twice if you didn't think that that was one of, if not the main reason you didn't get in? He can think whatever he wants because there's no concrete proof and there never will be. But if he really feels that way, he should just say it with his chest like he did and stand on it. But that's not what he's doing right now. Now he wants to obfuscate it and try and blame his wealth or athleticism as well. Even June had to call him out on it and say that he flipped the excuse to include more factors as to not seem as racially charged. It's almost as if between the first time that he brought it up and the second time that he brought it up, he realized that getting online and complaining about being white isn't exactly the best look out there.
As much as Phil promoted his ability, when it came to EVO, the player base was at an entirely different level than he was used to. Losses here were common, and people did not take kindly to his hostility online where he would physically threaten his opposition.
I was the guy who always talked shit. I was the guy who always was like, man, don't get in my face at a tournament. I will fuck you up. I will throw you in a trash can. I will, I used to do that.
But in person, that was a different story.
I mean, online, he would freaking, run his flap and post a lot and respond to everything, but when you see him at the tournaments, he just sits there, he's not doing nothing.
Why would I? Again, I was being the online heel. I was the one who I wanted everyone to hate. So when you go to the tournament, you always want to see Phil go up against someone, and it got me a way to get spotlighted at the tournament. It also got hype because you have to understand something. I should go full screen for this. The way that fighting game tournaments worked back then, here's literally what it was, okay? You go into an arcade or you go into a ballroom, and it's a bunch of sweaty fucking stinky-ass dudes, all right? A couple hundred of them, and you're literally just standing around waiting to play your match for hours on end. It's not fun. If you get to play the match and win, it's fun. But what's fun is to see rivalries, to see big matchups, to see people who have been talking shit all the time against each other, to have a highlighted match focused on, and now you have something to do instead of waiting for your match all fucking day, right? So you would actually go and, okay, I want to watch this. Let's see Darkside Phil versus Shady K. Let's see Darkside Phil versus Mix-Up from Florida, who wiped the floor with me, That was hype. People wanted to see that. So let's see the shit talker either actually deliver or get his ass handed to him. And it actually added a new level of entertainment to these events. Some people didn't get it and thought I was actually like a fucking asshole who was going to cause problems. I literally never caused a single problem at any tournament I ever attended. I never fought anyone. I never threatened anyone. I never brought a weapon. People who knew me in real life said, we know it's an online persona. But the people from across the country who didn't know me in real life didn't understand that. You see, they took it very seriously, and then there was problems with certain people, which I'm sure he's probably going to cover. So let's get back to it.
But that behavior clearly wasn't appreciated. How successful and important was DSP in the scene due to these heel antics? Based on the SRK forum posts and the subsequent opinions of all of the people in the community, I would say that he wasn't very successful at all. And for someone who claims that they cared so much for the scene and that they loved Street Fighter so much, why was he constantly making a nuisance of himself everywhere that he went? People who really care about the hobbies that they're in don't do that. They don't go out of their way to actively make their own group look more degenerate and worse than they actually are. This is also, yet again, an example of DSP pretending to be somebody that he's just not, for nothing more than to just be grading. Why constantly put on a front and pretend to be something you aren't, just to get mad when people really expected you to be about it like you say that you are? I'm not including it, but that was his main issue with Jaha. He hated that Jaha was really about that action the way that Phil was pretending to be. And it's for that reason alone that he should have never have even pretended. It's insane to me that he can hate on everyone for not respecting him as a heel character while everyone else was just conducting themselves in a fairly normal way and not really interested in all of his nonsense. Maybe you can chalk it up to his age and being immature, but as someone who was a similar age not that long ago, there is no way I can excuse this. He knew better, and anyone saying otherwise is just as dented as him.
Quote, it's obvious that Impact is going to compete heavily with EVO, unquote.
Yeah, right.
On the threads created by Phil to promote Impact that included fundraising, brainstorming ideas, and other items meant to trigger discussion, on average would have at most a single other response.
Right.
That was also the only respondent to the majority of Phil's posts. Even threads discussing how much Phil sucked garnered more attention on his website than Impact. Top haters.
Yes, because again, this wasn't serious. The entire site was a troll attempt. You understand? Like the whole thing was a big troll op. And the whole idea that I was going to run a tournament to compete with EVO, how? The Cannon brothers have tons of money. They were able, through their programming experience, to fund EVO, to make it happen. I was a kid working at Circuit City with no money. How was I going to start a competition tournament to EVO? It was a joke. The funny part is, from what I'm going to understand, it pissed people off. You know, the Cannon brothers and the people who ran EVO, like Mr. Wizard and everything, were really angry with me that I would say I was going to run a tournament the same weekend as EVO. They're like, come on, man. No one does that. No one runs a tournament the same weekend as someone else's tournament. Why would you do that? Like, they actually got upset, even though it was a joke. It was totally never intended that it was going to be like a real thing. I didn't have money for a venue. I didn't have money to roll in arcade machines and shit. It never was going to happen.
So again, here Phil is actively detracting from a community he swears to have loved and put so much time and effort into. So despite being a constant liar, something he's all but admitted to just in these clips, the Cannons gave him the benefit of the doubt and believed he really had intentions of running an event at the same time and called it as the faux pas that it was. I don't see anything wrong with that. He wants to hide behind the fact that he was just a kid and didn't have any money and whatnot, but if that's the case, I have to ask again, why is he trying to derail a community that he is taking part in? Why is he trying to irritate other tournament organizers? Not only is that not a good idea due to personal ramifications, but if even one person changed their plans to attend Impact instead of whatever the Cannons tournament was called, he just screwed over someone who not only trusted him, but is an active member of his own community. Nothing about this trolling makes any sense. There isn't a wider plan at play. There is no end goal. He is just being obnoxious and then getting frustrated when no one liked him. There's really nothing more to say about that other than I guess you just get what you deserve out here.
Here he lambasted what was known in the fighting game community as
What's up with all those combo videos? Losers. Can you not tell it's a troll op? Can you even believe this is real? Why would I say that combo videos are bad? Back then, if you got a combo video, it was like a golden opportunity to learn tech in a fighting game without being physically at a tournament, seeing someone do it. There was no YouTube. There was no fucking Twitch. So, of course, combo videos were great. They were a great resource. But I would be a fucking contrarian. And I would literally say, oh, it's terrible. What a bunch of losers to make those videos. And people would be upset. That was the point. I was the heel. Get it? That's the joke.
combo videos.
Is that a joke? I know comedy is subjective, but he took the time to write and post on his own website, a website nobody went to, by the way, just to talk shit about combo videos. I'm failing to see how this is a joke. The funniest part of the whole ordeal is actually that this would have been a prime opportunity for DSP to actually be consistent on something for once. Because it wasn't that long ago in Street Fighter 6 where he was complaining about having to watch tech videos online to keep up with other players, players and how the fun was being taken out of the game due to this change. So this would have been the most opportune time to point out, hey, look you guys, even as far back as whenever this garbage was posted, I was pointing out how combo vids were ruining the scene and people had an over-reliance on them. But no, of course not. Just add this to the infinite number of flip-flops DSP has done throughout his life and ring it up as another unfunny troll attempt, I guess. I swear, layups get handed to this dude and he just swats them away.
Physical altercation, and in most cases, it led to nothing. Other times,
Exactly.
he miscalculated and threatened someone who could reciprocate threats, reinforced by real experience. Viscant, a veteran of the fighting game community, was lambasted by DSP. Quote, "So first Phil was like,
dude, this thing was completely fake. All right, let's go ahead and see what he has to say, just so everyone knows this entire thing was fake. But let's go.
okay, well, you have to sign some document, because if I kill you, I don't want to be responsible. And I was like, whatever. Then, there was an actual serious negotiation over who the ref was going to be. And I think we settled on Walter from Connecticut, but I don't remember this part either. Then, there was an honest-to-God negotiation over weight, and that we were going to have to weigh in and everything. Again, I'm not making any of this up. As dumb as this sounds, this absolutely happened. So one day Phil IMs me on AIM and tries to back out. He was like, hey, so how about this? How about we pretend like we're going to fight, and then when a whole crowd is around us, we both do DX crotch chops to the crowd. That'll be such a goof.
Yes.
This really happened, and
Because why? Okay, it would be one thing if it was like the first time you heard of DSP and you hear that he talks shit online. Okay, this had been going on for like 6-7 years. Like, people knew of me since 1999. At first, they knew me as the shit talker and all of this. And by the way, chronologically, I don't actually know if this is correct, because I think this is, now we're talking about 2006. So I don't know. I got to think about this chronologically, right? But anyway, the whole thing was fake. Never did I have a beef with Viscant. His name is Viscant. Everyone says Viscant because no one remembers to pronounce it like Viscant. That's why I say it like that. But originally his name was supposed to be Viscant, but now everyone says Viscant. I was cool with Jay. Like, there was no real beef. I think what happened is, after so many people kind of went after him online and shit, then he changed his tune. But there was never, at least from my perspective, there was never going to be a fight between me and Jay. Ever. This is the dumbest thing possible. Like, I've already been part of the FGC for 6+ years, right? Now I'm placing, I'm doing well. Why the fuck would I fight someone now? Dude, Evo 2006, I stayed with Jay at his home. He let me stay there with other players for free so we could attend Evo West. How did I have a real feud with him? This is so weird. This is bizarre that people took this seriously. It was never real.
He says the whole thing was fake, yet you went through all of the nonsense about weights and refs and shit? Viscant was a legitimate fighter in some capacity. I believe he had some sort of legitimate training. Why would you waste his time with this garbage? He very clearly didn't think that it was all fake, or he wouldn't have disclosed the details in this manner the way that he did, because just based off of the words being used in the recounting of events, he was obviously irritated by the entire thing. Bill also throws out, well guys, how could we have had beef? I stayed at his house. Maybe Viscant didn't outright hate him, but it seemed as though the community as a whole didn't particularly care for him. Despite that though, Viscant, out of the kindness of his heart, allowed DSP to stay at his place while he was in his territory, because that's just what pillars of the community do. Not that DSP would know anything about that. I just find every story involving DSP's FGC days incredibly irritating, because he really was the worst member of this group. He offered nothing, he was entitled, he was obnoxious, and he didn't even offer anything in the realm of serious competition. Except, of course, in the Neo Geo conversion of Street Fighter, obviously. So really, he was nothing more than a blight on the space as a whole. It's a miracle to me that he was even allowed at these tournaments in the first place and not just immediately barred instead. I suppose that's the way that it had to be at the time, though. There weren't exactly as many people involved in fighting games or the Street Fighter scene in general, so they just had to kind of take people where they could get them, and unfortunately for them, DSP was there.
And Watson is a forgiving guy, so he just fucking pretty much got to the point where he made him apologize.
That's not what happened whatsoever. You want to know the full story? I'll tell you the full story. I've already told the full story, but I'll tell it again, okay? At this time, again, 2005, 6, 7, I was an alcoholic, and it was my pastime to get ripping drunk at night and go online and act like an asshole. Frequently, it was like either posting on SRK forums, or it was going to the chat. There used to be MIRC chat rooms back then, and you could go into like the SRK room, you could go into this room, these different rooms, you could talk to people, okay? And basically, I would always talk shit and whatever. So I just distinctly remember this. That one day or whatever, I got a bunch of DMs, okay? And the DMs were like, dude, you are totally in trouble. And I was like, what? He was like, "Do you have any idea what happened last night?" I was like, "No." They were like, "We could tell you were drunk." And you went and you got into a big argument with Mike Watson in the MIRC chat, and everyone just sat back with popcorn eating while you guys were going at it. And it was just like personal insult after personal insult after personal insult. All right. And I was like, seriously? Like, I do not remember this whatsoever. This happening. I don't recall. I must have been so drunk. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't do it, but I don't recall this at all. So basically, the word on the street was that Mike Watson wanted to beat my ass. And he actually publicly threatened me a couple times in chat again. And every time I was like, dude, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to fight at Evo. That's going to ruin everything for everyone. You know that. And I really have no recollection what you're talking about. So basically, I just like blocked it out. I didn't address it. I didn't talk to the guy or anything. Okay, I just ignored the whole thing.
So despite not remembering what he said and being confronted by others telling him now how awful he was acting, his first response was not to apologize or clear the air in any way. No, of course not. His first response is to tell Mike Watson that he wasn't going to do anything and that he didn't even remember what he said. I don't think that I have to tell you that telling someone they won't fight you after they just said that they would is a very quick way to incite a fight. Phil had to know that in some capacity. There's no way he didn't know that would stoke the fire more. And the idea that he was so drunk to the point of blacking out and not remembering, but still capable of typing out coherent insults and communicating via IRC is incredibly hard to believe. I'm sure many of you are familiar with alcohol and know that after the liquor starts hitting, texting and typing becomes a task in and of itself, let alone trying to get out banger insults. So it's really no wonder this whole thing even had to take place. He antagonized a man who just said he was going to fight him multiple times and then claimed not to remember.
I went to Evo West, and after a bunch of matches at one day, I don't even remember what day it was before these finals, okay? I was walking back to the parking lot with Viscant, Jay Snyder, okay? We were together, Viscant. And he would, because remember, I was staying with him. So he was going to drive me back to his place. Now, I don't know if this was a setup or not. Sometimes I do suspect that maybe it was a setup and they were in cahoots with him or something. But all of a sudden, already like in the parking lot or right there coming around the corner was Mike Watson and Jaha, okay? Now, I don't understand why Jaha had to be involved. This had nothing to do with him. This was between me and Mike Watson, but Jaha was involved, okay? So Mike Watson gets in my face, and he's basically saying, why did you talk all this shit online, and why did you do this? And I'm like, dude, like, literally, I'm like, I actually have no idea what you're talking about. I really don't. And when he really got in my face, and he goes, well, I don't understand, how could you not know? I said, I admitted to him right there. I said, dude, I'm an alcoholic. Every night I drink, and I just go online, and I act like an asshole. So I actually have no clue what you're talking about. I apologize if I said something personal that really pissed you off. And then it was basically like Jaha was getting in my face, and he was like, well, I'm going to fuck you up anyway. And I said, no. I said, if you're going to do it, go ahead. And I put my hands behind my back just like this. And I said, if you want to fuck me up, go for it. You have the right, I guess, because I don't know what I even said, right? I really have no clue. So go ahead and beat my ass. I'm not going to defend myself. Go ahead and beat me up. And I just stood there like this. And basically the two of them were like shocked that I did this because they thought I was going to try to fight them or something, right? And then after that, they were like, well, don't fucking ever do that again and blah, blah, blah. And I said, all right, whatever. I don't know, again, I'm sorry. I really have no clue what I've done.
I love that when he recounts this story, he always mimes how he put his hands behind his back. It just makes the whole thing that much more pathetic. As if telling this story wasn't pathetic enough, this is the second or maybe even third time he's told this story, hands behind his back and all. But the way that he casually brushes off their mercy with a, alright, whatever, I don't even know what I did is ridiculous though. The ego on this guy is just insane, and I don't know if that's due to his recent Kino high or genuinely how he recounts this situation. But it's so dismissive for someone who was a few inches from being beaten up in a parking garage. Again, it's stories like this that convince people that he's always been the same person and he will never change.
You guys remember the whole thing with DSP and like with the West Coast people where they almost like he was like really scared because he was about to get beat up? I heard he was like crying and everything, so that was pretty funny.
Why are you so here's the truth of the matter. Sorry, because I got distracted here. Here's the truth of the matter. Why are you joking? If you knew the real story, that the reason that I was crying is because I was embarrassed because I was an alcoholic and I couldn't control myself and I was apparently doing things I couldn't even remember. I mean, that's blackout drunk, that you don't remember what you did when you're drunk. And that's why I was crying, because I was so upset with myself that, that's not something to laugh at. That's not something to make fun of. That's a serious issue. Oh, ha ha ha. Phil cried. Do you even know what happened? Were you there? If you weren't, then shut the fuck up. No one needs to hear your dumb, uninformed fucking opinion, Justin. Ha ha ha. So funny. DSP cried. Oh, I'm sure I could find shit about anyone in the FGC and I could laugh at you too. But at this point, this was an interview done with Justin. Again, I wasn't part of the FGC. I was actually becoming a popular YouTuber, and the whole FGC turned against me. and wanted to fucking shit on me because I was popular on YouTube and they were nowhere near as popular on YouTube. So everyone wants to drop my name and talk shit about me. You remember when he cried? Remember that? How did you know? You weren't there. There's no video footage of it. No one spoke of it. How the fuck would you possibly know? You don't know shit. If you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, keep your mouth shut. Because then years later, I'll talk about it during my documentary. All people will see my react, and you look like a jackass. So Justin, guess what? You owe me a fucking apology. You really do. Now, I've talked shit about you in your game and shit like that. I didn't make any personal attacks against you. This is a pretty fucked up personal attack, and I think you should apologize to me. I don't think you will, but I do think you owe me an apology.
Why is he laughing? Because it's funny. You portrayed yourself for all those years as this heel character, right? Isn't the reason people like heels in the first place is that it's satisfying when they get their comeuppance? That's what June said in this very doc, so this story is exactly that. How dare you try and call out others for reveling in the exact situation they are supposed to be rooting for? Are they supposed to feel bad for you because you decided to drink yourself stupid every night and make an ass out of yourself? That's a crazy expectation, especially given your behavior thus far in the FGC storyline that June has so thoughtfully provided here. I can't stress this enough. In fact, I would argue it's the biggest takeaway from the first night of reacting that he did. DSP has a habit of making himself intolerable and easily despised just to ask for pity and sympathy down the road whenever it best suits his needs. And I just can't respect anybody like that. You want to be a troll, you want to be a heel, you want to play the villain, then do it and take the repercussions that come with it. If you aren't willing to do that, then just shut the hell up asking for apologies from someone who has gone to be far more important than yourself. That's just clown behavior.
Use cap, but this is funny as fuck. Your card instead of camera. I've already explained this 7,000 fucking times. It's because then I'd have to actually use a professional microphone. I'd have to record the voiceovers. I'd have to actually do video editing on every fucking video that I put up. Considering I put up like 30 a fucking day, unless you want to fucking stay home and do that while I'm at work, I don't think that's gonna happen. So shut
Right.
your fucking face up. So basically, the only people who really cared about my quality at this point in 2009 were people who were like, well, other people, your contemporaries are doing direct capture. I'm like, my contemporaries don't put out 30 videos in a day. They sit there editing. They put out one video a day that's like, 10 minutes. I'm putting out 3 hours of footage a day. So would you rather have 3 hours of a hot new game or one video of a hot new game that has good visuals and audio? And everyone said, put out more videos. We want to see you get through the games and cover them. And that's what my thing was. I was known as the guy who bought the new games, played them right away, beat them within a week, and immediately could review the game and go to the next game. I was a very proficient, prolific content creator in that way. Everyone else cared about the production quality, but wasn't putting out enough content, right? I was putting out endless amounts of content, and people liked that. That's how I ended up blowing up at the start.
That, as would be understood, was DSP's long-winded way of saying it was because he did not want to put forth the effort to learn the technology.
June really hit the nail on the head there, and it's moments like that that redeem this entire doc in my eyes. Because despite how nice June is coming across during the whole thing and how many different aspects of DSP's lore he's left out, he very clearly has come to similar conclusions to detractors, at least in some cases. Phil has always said this though, and I'm just wondering how many people actually buy into it. I personally don't find it believable as someone who was watching gameplay content at this time that there were people just clamoring for worst quality at a higher quantity. I won't say that quality is the most important aspect to most content, but when it comes to gameplay, especially gameplay of a brand new game, you should be trying to display the content as close to the source as possible. I've just never in my life met someone who preferred camcorder footage to direct capture, and I honestly don't think that DSP ever has either.
They both come in here.
All right, I'm just going to say this. For me being completely drunk as shit, I put out a lot of content that actually wasn't so bad. Like, look at this video. It's gameplay, there's commentary. I mean, yeah, I'm drunk as shit, but look, I'm putting it out consistently. That's a camera pointed at a TV, and it's actually framed pretty goddamn good. Like, damn, I got good at this for being drunk and putting out content. I was pretty good, right? Another person trying to make being drunk and do the fucking gameplay, they're fucking falling over and shit.
Does he want a prize for this? Yes, DSP, you got fairly efficient at pushing out slop content while drunk off your ass. Congratulations? This is akin to bragging about being the best drunk driver. Like, that's cool, man. It definitely could be worse, but I can't believe this is where you have to try and give yourself some big ups. I guess that's not really too different from today, though, is it? As his big push as of late has come from the fact that he isn't literally a felon or some sort of incestuous degenerate and whatnot. Neither of these are the compliments he thinks they are, and they're actually more of a testament to how sad his life really is.
The controversy, okay? What's about to happen is June is going to play you a video. For some reason, he's playing the detractor video. He's not playing the original video. So in my original face reveal video, which this is right here, okay? this was, I believe I want to say this was like early 2010. It might have been 2009, actually. It was either 2009 or 2010, but it was early on, okay? In this video, I actually say outright to my audience, which I should never have said, and I publicly admitted this was my fault. I said, you know, if you want to help, yeah, you know, you can click on ads and stuff like that. I never should have said that, right? That is something fucked up. That, you know, why are you saying that to your audience, right? Well, guess what? I said that in that video, and that video stayed live for like either like around a year. Because again, if it was 2009, it was over a year. If it was 2010, it was like a year. Okay. At the end of 2010, that December, that's when YouTube said they detected invalid click activity on my videos and suspended my AdSense. So if what I'm going to say in this video is what got me demonetized on YouTube, then why did it take them a year? Because that's not what got me demonetized on YouTube. What got me demonetized is I lost my job, my fans felt bad, and they went and did that. Despite me never asking them to do that, they did it anyway because they felt bad, and then because it was such an overabundance of that, YouTube said that's not valid, obviously. You're not intended to get that much engagement with ads on YouTube. That's, you know, obviously they can't keep paying me that much money a month. They're going to pay me $18,000 a month for a little rinky-dink channel doing vlogs? Of course they're not. So they turned it off. But it wasn't anything I did. It was not me saying it in this video, because this video was live at least a year before they turned off my ads and no action was taken. It was the actual increase in ad revenue that happened out of nowhere when I lost my job that got the action taken. So it's unrelated, but this is always the narrative of my detractors, is that they want to say it's all my fault. Listen, it was wrong for me to say that in this video back then, but that is not the root cause of why I was demonetized on YouTube. That's where the fun comes from. So I just want to say thanks a lot to everyone. I hope to entertain you in the future. Please go to my partner channel, The King of Hate HD, and click on the ads that show up on the videos. There it is. And that video, that was my real face reveal video, and that was, I believe, 2009. If it was early 2010, I apologize, but I think that was early 2009, and that video was live for over a year before I was demonetized.
He doesn't seem to understand that both things can actually be true at the same time. Sure, maybe they didn't see a massive uptick in click activity till that December, or whenever he lost his job and YouTube had to pay him $18,000 in the span of 1 month. But maybe the idea was given in this video. Maybe they had the idea to click on the ads when you lost your job, specifically because during the face reveal you said that that would help. This is personally the theory that I actually believe in, because before hearing DSP say that clicking on the ads actually had an impact, I didn't know that that was the case, and I would imagine that most people have never uploaded a YouTube video and also didn't know that. He just seems so desperate to try and grasp at any straws possible to debunk the trolls that he isn't really thinking things all of the way through. And isn't it ironic that I'm the guy? I'm just kidding, but actually, isn't it ironic that in DSP's face reveal video, he couldn't help but mention how to help him receive more money in a scammy and underhanded way? It's almost like his face and asking for money in a roundabout way would be intrinsically linked for the rest of time. It's almost prophetic. But with that, I think it's going to be the end of the video, so thank you everybody for watching, especially if you made it this far. Hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. Be safe.
For me being completely drunk as shit, I put out a lot of content that actually wasn't so bad.